Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Eddie Jennings from EJSLLC.com. This video is another in my practice series with the RHCSA exam. Again, these videos aren't designed to be authoritative information, but rather it's me going through the topics for the Red Hat Certified System Administrator exam, and kind of as a check for me to see if I feel confident in being able to talk about these concepts and possibly benefit you in your own study for the RHCSA exam. Perhaps I present things in a way that you haven't seen as far as your own studies, and it might help you understand concepts a little bit better when you have a little different way of having something explained to you. That being said, if you enjoy the content of the video, make sure you do click like on it. Also subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, and feel free to share this video with anyone else that you think might benefit or enjoy it. So the topic for today is the last of the objectives in the Understand and Use Essential Tools category. It is the Locate, Read, and Use System Documentation, including man, info, and files, and Usersharedoc. So this won't be too long of a video, but everything that I've read so far about the exam pretty much says that, make use of the documentation that comes with a Linux system, which kind of goes without saying. I mean, there's, I know this is true in the Windows world. I imagine it's true in the Linux world as well. That your greatest administrators are not going to be rattling off every bit of knowledge they have off the top of their head. Rather, they'll have a wide breadth of knowledge of different concepts and such, but they will be quite skilled in being able to find the knowledge they need if there's a gap, such as, let's say that there's some command that an obscure command that they rarely have to use, but they know it exists to help this specific problem. Well, a wise administrator is going to know where they can reference that command to be able to use it, whereas the novice administrator might not have the base knowledge to know where to go to find answers. So within the Linux system, there are several documentation things that are built in. I'm going to open my terminal here. And probably the most famous are the man pages. And you can access the man pages for command by simply typing man and without the capital M. Caps lock key was being strange. And let's look at, let's see, common command. Let's look at cat. Man cat. There we go. All right, and so what the man page is going to give you is some reference information for whatever command that you feed it. So in this case, cat. It gives us a little synopsis of it. Option, the 3 ellipses usually means you can pass it several options. You can pass it a file. 3 ellipses tells us that you can pass it several files. And then it also shows various flags that can be used with it, or options. So such as -E. Usually I don't use any options with cat. I just want the information itself. However, I do like the -N option. So, case in point. Also, the man page will give you some usually give you some author information as well as copyright. You might also see some references to other commands that would be related to the command that you're looking up. So notice the /n option. Let's make a little test file here. cat-n test file. That's kind of neat. It gives you the line number. But that's an example of what man shows you. It is not designed to be a full-on tutorial for how to use something, but rather it's more designed to be quick reference. One other thing to note is that there is no governed standard for man pages that I'm aware of. I'm sure there's suggested formats, and if you look at man pages, you'll notice, such as, let me do man pass WD. the general format is going to be the same for many man pages, but there's nothing that necessarily enforces that. So depending on the effort that the developers of an application put into their documentation will dictate the quality of information that's available in your man pages. Related to man and newer than man are the info pages. I'm going to extend the size of my terminal there. So I'm going to go info past WD. Now this ended up taking you back to the man pages, which that's actually one nifty thing about info, is that it is, if there are no info documents for something, then it's going to redirect you to man pages. But let's look up info, and you can do man as well to get information about the man pages. The thing about info is it generally will have a little bit greater information, and it also has some greater navigation abilities than man, such as you have links where we have stars here. I can move my cursor to this, I can press enter, and it's going to go to that page. You can also use the P key, N key to move between different nodes. And this idea of a node in info, like imagine a wiki, and you have your, like the homepage link, you click to a sub page, and you will have little breadcrumb links that take you throughout the wiki. The info pages are very similar to that. Now, I don't have all of the key commands memorized for how info pages work, and quite frankly, just in my own work that I've done with Linux, I tend to not use info. Not that I dislike info, but it's kind of like muscle memory. I go to man first, but info is useful to use as well, especially in the fact that if there is no actual info documentation for it, then you will be redirected back to man. The last thing in the objective that talks about is the Usersharedoc directory. Before I go into that, there is one other thing I want to mention about man. I'm going to look at the manual documents for the man, and that's the different sections of man. And I have it. It's listed here in the screen. I had these at one point memorized when I was doing one of the Linux Essentials tests for LPI. I don't have it memorized as much now because there are some commands that you can use to find all the manual pages for something. And if you were to use the apropos or man-k, let's do -k past WD. Those are all the man pages that have past WD in its either name or its keyword. So for past WD, there's a man page 1, there's a man page 5 for it. I believe there is a command called whatis. I think this is what I want. Yep, there we go. So hence using man to get some information about it. Whatis will give you some, I believe it searches the ManDB database. Let's see what happens here if I do past WD. Okay, so it gives me, looks like anything that has past WD in the database. Now, if you were to install, let's see, that should return nothing. All right, so I'm going to install Apache real quick, and I'm going to show you how you update the ManDB database, because this might be a thing that you need to do when you install a new application when you're taking your exam, and you want to be able to have the man pages available for it. Let me do that with sudo. Probably should use DNF, but yum will still work. All right, so that's going to grab HTTP. Yep. If I don't fat finger the password, that should grab HTTPD soon. now curious about what PID. No, there it goes. So if this doesn't take too long, I might edit it out. We'll see. Seems like it's going pretty quick. All right, so it's done. Now, if I were to man HTTPD, it already found it. That's nice. Sometimes what you have to do is, I believe it is mandb is the command. Oh, I might have to do that as sudo. There we go. What that will do is update the database that the manual pages use. So if you do install an application and you try to run man on it and you don't get anything back, you might need to run that mandb command to be able to update what's going on. So the last thing, the Usersharedoc, I'm going to log in as root. So we're going to cd into Usersharedoc, and in Usersharedoc, you are going to find pretty much every application that you have installed on your machine, because in here is where there are either documentation or example files located. I'm going to open the OpenSSH directory. ls. All right, and so we have README files, which is one of the most common things that you'll be reading out of the Usersharedoc. Oftentimes you will see example config files for stuff, such as if I were to, let's do head README. Gives us a little bit of information about OpenSSH. Let's go into, where's one that's going to have I think password D or passwd. Nope, it just has authors, change logs, and configs. I know for a fact that there's some of these in here that have HTTPD might have it. There it is. So let me head HTTPD vhost. Spell that right, that'll help. Well, let's just cat, or we'll use less. There we go. And this is giving you a basically a sample file of a configuration file. And so if, let's say, that the man pages or the info pages don't have the information that you want, you can often look in that Usersharedoc directory and get either samples or other information that might be useful for you. Now, if I am correct, believe, because I know there, man pages. Is this where this is? No. There's a directory that basically stores all of the man pages, and I can't remember off the top of my head exactly where that is. I'll bet these are it. Go into man 1. This is just Usershare. Yeah. There we go. So this is where the actual man pages themselves are stored. And these gzip files are contain the information for the man pages. And I believe info has the same thing. Or rather, these are the info pages, perhaps. I don't recall off the top of my head. So if you watching the video know, perhaps you can leave a comment both for myself and for others to say, hey, this is the exact place where your info pages live. But the big thing with this concept is just understanding that while on the exam we're not going to have access to Dr. Google and such, there's a good bit of documentation that will be available. And the man pages are probably going to be one of the first sources you look at, as well as the info pages, and then you can dig into Usersharedoc for additional documentation for the applications that you have. And just remember that the quality of documentation is going to be solely dependent on the developer of your application. There is no like governing authority that says, you know, all applications will have great documentation. Most applications I've run across, you know, have pretty good documentation, and it makes sense because, you know, your devs want you to be able to learn how to use their application. So again, this is not necessarily meant to be authoritative information, but it's just me going through some practice exercises and just talking through some concepts as I prepare for the RHCSA exam. As always, thank you for taking the time to watch. Remember, if you enjoyed the content, click like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell, and I will see you the next time.